Hey guys, welcome to the channel and another video. Today I'm going to be watching The Hobbit, an unexpected journey by Peter Jackson, starring Martin Freeman, Ian McKellen, and I assume a bunch of actors from the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Okay, this is a complicated one. First off, I absolutely loved the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It was easily the best epic fantasy trilogy ever put to film, no doubts there. After finishing those films, I asked you guys whether I should review the Hobbit films on the channel, and I got a very mixed but passionate response from the community. Half the community said I should just avoid them and watch something else because they don't live up to their predecessors. The other half encouraged me to watch them and make up my own mind. Although I usually watch famous, cult, or classic films on the channel, I'd like to think that this is primarily a review channel, as I spend more time writing the review than I take to actually watch the film. And as an amateur film critic, I'd like to make up my own mind. The Lord of the Rings are a huge part of popular culture, and I don't want to miss out on something big. If I like the trilogy, you'll hear it in the review. If I don't, you guys will also be the first to know. Anyways, I don't know anything about this trilogy except that they're prequels. I know it's about Bilbo Baggins' adventures before the events of the original trilogy. I also expect a lot of cameos from the characters of the previous films too. That's literally all I know to expect though. This is the extended version, by the way. I had a poll and 60% of you guys said I should watch the extended version, so here we are. But before we get into it, to help support the channel, I have a Patreon page for full-length reviews and reactions to this film and over 110 movies, early access and weekly polls for what to watch next. You'll need your own copy to watch along. The link's in the description below, by the way. Please consider me a patron, please subscribe to the channel, click that bell icon for instant notifications. Do check out my other videos. Like if you like this video, dislike it if you didn't. With all that being said, let's get started. The Hobbit, an unexpected journey. Jackson, Freeman, McKellen. Let's go. Can't wait to get back into Tolkien's world. The Hobbit. And this is the Shire theme.
You asked me once if I had told you everything there was to know about my adventures.
Ian Holm.
I may not have told you all of it. I am old now, Frodo. I'm not the same hobbit I once was. I think it is time for you to know what really happened.
Oh, it's literally the beginning of the Fellowship of the Ring, where he also starts writing his story, but this time around we're actually going to see what happened.
For this city lay before the doors of the greatest kingdom in Middle-earth, Erebor.
Erebor. Wow.
Thror ruled with utter surety.
Thror.
The beauty of this fortress city was legend.
It is beautiful.
The skill of the dwarves was unequaled. Ever they delved deeper, down into the dark. And that is where they found it. The heart of the mountain. The Arkenstone.
Arkenstone.
Thror named it the King's Jewel. All would pay homage to him. Even the great elven king, Thranduil.
What's a different elven king?
No one knows exactly what began the rift. The elves say the dwarves stole their treasure. The dwarves tell another tale. They say the elf king refused to give them their rightful pay.
I can already tell Peter Jackson is relying on more CGI in this compared to previous trilogy, because this is all CGI in the background.
Thror's love of gold had grown too fierce, and where sickness thrives, bad things will follow.
So Thror was obsessed with gold.
Balin! Sound the alarm!
What is it?
Dragon!
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 I don't believe we've seen a dragon in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I thought there was a dragon, but it was some other creature. And I think I just heard the name Smog. Look at the size of that thing.
For this city of men was nothing to Smaug. His eye was set on another prize. For dragons covered gold with a dark and fierce desire.
Oh. Smog is a sentient being with wants and desires. Interesting. The scale. And he lost the artifact.
Erebor was lost.
Ooh, the elves, they're here. But they're unlikely to help because they have a rift going on with the dwarves.
No help came from the elves that day, nor any day since.
Decent CGI here.
The young dwarf prince took work where he could find it, laboring in the villages of men. Far away, in another corner of the world, dragons were only make-believe.
Gandalf.
It's where I come in.
Aww.
It's where there lived a hobbit.
And Frodo! I know it's most likely a cameo, but it just makes me happy to see Frodo.
What's this?
That is private. Keep your sticky paws off. It's not ready yet. What on earth are these?
Replies to the party invitations.
Good gracious.
It's literally the same day.
They think you're becoming odd.
Odd?
It's the ring.
Be a good lad and put that on the gate.
Good bit of visual storytelling.
You think he'll come? I'm going to surprise him.
Well, go on then.
60 years earlier.
Good morning.
What do you mean? Do you mean to wish me a good morning, or do you mean that it is a good morning whether I want it or not? Or perhaps you mean to say that you feel good on this particular morning.
Can I help you?
I'm looking for someone to share in an adventure.
Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things.
Yeah, hobbits just want their food.
Make you late for dinner.
And he's talking about food already. They don't want adventures.
Well, that's decided. It'll be very good for you.
We do not want any adventures here.
And I just realized it's Gandalf the Grey. Well, Peter Jackson is definitely taking his time. Say what you want about the film itself, but the music is just the best. Okay, that does look very good. Gandalf did leave a mark.
Dwalin, at your service.
Balin, at your service.
Feely and Keely, at your service.
These two kind of remind me of Merry and Pippin.
Go away and bother somebody else.
That's quite a few more.
Nori.
Not my prize winners, thank you.
Ori.
No, thank you. Diana.
His pantry's completely empty, which is like a nightmare for hobbits.
I don't understand what they're doing in my house.
Thorin.
This is the Hobbit. He looks more like a grocer than a burglar.
What do the dwarves of the Iron Hills say?
They will not come.
There is no way into the mountain.
That, my dear Balin, is not entirely true.
He has a secret key of sorts.
These runes speak of a hidden passage to the lower halls.
That's why we need a burglar.
Good one, too.
And are you?
That's why they're here?
I'm not a burglar.
Is hardly burglar material.
Aye, the wild is no place for gentle folk who can neither fight nor fend for themselves.
And he completely agrees with that sentiment.
Baggins is a burglar than a burglar. He is. And he's got a great deal more to offer than any of you know. Including himself.
That's a good point.
I cannot guarantee his safety. Understood.
Evisceration.
Evisceration.
Incineration.
And it's
Oh, aye, I'll melt the flesh off your bones in the blink of an eye.
having a literal panic attack.
Nope.
Very helpful, both. I remember a young hobbit who was always running off in search of elves in the woods. A young hobbit who would have liked nothing better than to find out what was beyond the borders of the Shire.
Can you promise that I will come back?
No. And if you do, you will not be the same.
Sorry, Gandalf. I can't sign this.
You have built a new life for us in the Blue Mountains. A life of peace and plenty. A life that is worth more than all the gold in Erebor.
There is no choice, Balin.
We will see it done.
The makeup and the prosthetic work in this film is definitely better than the original trilogy.
The fire was red, blazed with light.
Well, at least the cinematography between these films has been very consistent, especially the color grading. The dwarves are gone, and they cleaned up after themselves. Martin Freeman is doing a pretty good job with his physical acting. You can tell so much from his body language, what he's thinking and feeling. So, very good job from Freeman so far. He changed his mind, I think. And that's why Gandalf chose him. Bilbo is naturally curious, and holy crap, that's beautiful.
I'm going on an adventure!
I signed it.
Give him a pony.
No, that won't be necessary. Even got as far as Frogmorton once.
Nobody ever listens to Bilbo. They just do their thing. And I think that's a running gag Jackson is playing with.
Oh, they took wagers on whether or not you'd turn up. Most of them bet that you wouldn't.
What did you think?
I never doubted you for a second.
Oh, wait. Stop!
Stop! We have to turn around.
I've forgotten my handkerchief. Use this.
Move on.
They expected the whole company to stop for his handkerchief. Wow. New Zealand is a beautiful country.
What was that?
Orcs. You think a night raid by orcs is a joke?
After the dragon took the Lonely Mountain, King Thror tried to reclaim the ancient dwarf kingdom of Moria. But our enemy had got there first.
Oh man, this is a flashback within a flashback.
Moria had been taken.
The sheer numbers are very impressive, but you could tell that it's completely CGI.
A young dwarf prince facing down the pale orc, his armor rent, wielding nothing but an oaken branch as a shield.
And that's how he got his name, Oakenshield.
Go back on!
Our enemy had been defeated. We few had survived. There is one who I could follow. There is one I could call king.
I love how the flashbacks are very desaturated, very bleak. That's a good directorial choice.
Other wizards.
There are 5 of us. The greatest of our order is Saruman.
Saruman.
Then there are the 2 blue wizards.
And who is the 5th?
Well, that would be Radagast, the brown.
1 white, 1 grey, 2 blue, and 1 brown.
Not good. Not good at all.
Is that him, the brown wizard?
Sebastian.
So many dead animals, but we don't know why. Nothing's working.
A dark and powerful magic.
I wonder whether that was the spider creature Frodo met in the trilogy. Did those spider creatures leave because of the spell? That's a lot of CGI.
We'll camp here for the night. We could make for the hidden valley. The elves could help us. We could get food, rest, advice.
The elves looked on and did nothing.
We saw that.
What's the matter?
We had 16.
Now there's 14.
Holy crap, they're actual trolls. Why am I surprised? This is Tolkien's world.
Might improve the flavour.
Oh, there's more where that came from.
Oh, no, you don't.
The CGI here is very decent for 2012, but definitely not flawless.
Flesh.
Look what's come out of me Uta! It's got arms and legs and everything! Make him squeal!
Yeah, these two dwarves definitely remind me of Merry and Pippin. Well, these dwarves can fight.
Lay down your arms. Never mind this evening. We ain't got all night. Dawn ain't far away. Let's get a move on. I don't fancy being turned to stone.
Wait! Not that one. He's infected.
I've got parasites as big as my
One
arm.
of the biggest parasites. I've got huge parasites.
Some of them are not the brightest.
The dawn will take you all.
Can we eat him too?
Oh, the sunlight.
There must be a cave nearby.
These are forged in Gondolin by the High Elves, the First Age.
Elven swords. They're enchanted, I think, like the ones we saw in the original trilogy.
Here, this is about your size. It will glow blue when orcs or goblins are nearby.
We've seen that before.
True courage is about knowing not when to take a life, but when to spare one.
Beautiful words, along with the Shire theme. Oh, it's the brown wizard.
I was looking for you, Gandalf. Something's wrong.
I wonder where this is.
It is the shadow of an ancient horror. The necromancer has come.
Great camera work. And knowing Tolkien, it's probably an actual necromancer. Holy crap, look at the size of those things.
Work, scouts! Which means an orc pack is not far behind.
I'll draw them off.
What a lovely landscape shot. Jeez, these rabbits are fast. And Radagast the Brown, he's a pretty fearless wizard. Oh man.
This way, you fools!
And you have to respect Thorin. I think these are the elves.
Where are we?
You can feel it.
Yes.
Wow. We're at Rivendell.
This was your plan all along.
If there's any place I'd like to live in Middle-earth, it has to be either the Shire or at Rivendell.
Gandalf.
It is Elrond.
Welcome, Thorin, son of Thrain. Oyanam van Nethailvin.
Does he offer us insult? No, Master Gloin, he's offering you food.
That shut them up real fast.
I don't like green food.
Where's the meat?
There's a merry old man beneath an old grey hill.
This is like the third song. The elves are so proper. They probably feel a little insulted.
Show it to Lord Elrond.
What is your interest in this map?
It's mainly academic. As you know, this sort of artifact sometimes contains hidden text.
Gandalf is covering for Thorin. I'm just smiling because of the cinematography.
Stand by the grey stone when the thrush knocks, and the setting sun with the last light of Durin's day will shine upon the keyhole. So this is your purpose, to enter the mountain.
It's Azog. I knew he was still alive. There's one thing I noted, the antagonists or the bad guys, they're not given too much screen time. So their characters are not as developed as the main ones. And I recognize that sword. It belongs to Aragorn. Sauron! And the One Ring. I like these small callbacks.
I've heard that hobbits are very resilient.
Really?
They are.
I've also heard they're fond of the comforts of home.
Just as he mentioned the word home, the Shire music just kicked up.
You are very welcome to stay here, if that is your wish.
He does come back in about 60 years. It's funny, but unfortunately the CGI isn't the best here. And I see what people meant when they said that there's a little overuse of CGI. I can see that clearly.
What will happen if your plan should fail? If you wake that beast?
But if we succeed, if the dwarves take back the mountain, our defenses in the east will be strengthened.
You've forgotten. A strain of madness runs deep in that family. His grandfather lost his mind. His father succumbed to the same sickness.
Holy crap.
Lady Galadriel.
Her character has been so mysterious.
I did.
Sauron is here! I mean, Saruman is here, not... My bad. Saruman is here.
I'm simply doing what I feel to be right.
The dragon has long been on your mind.
Tell us what the woodsmen say. They speak of a necromancer.
You carry something.
Yes.
Wow.
Show me.
Morgul blade.
I'm not convinced, Gandalf. I do not feel I can condone such a quest.
They are leaving.
Yes.
You knew. You are right to help Thorin Oakenshield. Why the halfling?
Good question. Why Bilbo?
I do not know. I found it is the small things. Everyday deeds of ordinary folk.
Beautiful framing.
Why Bilbo Baggins? Perhaps it is because I'm afraid. It gives me courage.
You are not alone.
And just like that, she's gone. Last time it was Mordor, and this time it's the Lonely Mountain. Last time it was Sauron, and this time it's Smaug. Holy crap!
Giants!
Wow.
Stone giants!
Stone giants. And I think there are two of them fighting each other, and they're caught in the crossfire. Oh! Oh! Yeah, the CGI in the darker scenes is really good.
He should never have come. He has no place amongst us.
Yeah, like I said before, there's a lot of downtime in this film. And a lot of humor, which I didn't expect.
Where do you think you're going? Back to Rivendell. You're part of the company. You're one of us.
I'm not though, am I? Thorin said I should never have come, and he was right.
Orcs are here, orcs are here. Bilbo isn't going anywhere. Gandalf was right. Hobbits are so small they can just go unnoticed. This was pretty much their orc factory, if I remember correctly.
Clap, snap, the black crack, grip, grab.
Another song. So many songs in The Hobbit. The fourth one.
Down, down to Goblin Town. Hammer and tongs, get out your knockers and gongs. You won't last long on the end of my... Catchy, isn't it? It's one of my own composition. I know someone who would pay a pretty price for your head. An old enemy of yours.
I do believe we know who that is.
Was destroyed.
So you think his defiling days are done, do you?
Cut to Bilbo. Oh! Gollum! Oh, he's gonna eat him. I can't believe we get to see Gollum. Which also means he is in possession of the ring. The One Ring. What a pivotal scene, and we're hearing the theme of the ring.
Back. Stay back. But we hasn't tried horses before. This is soft.
Just show me the way to get out of here.
We know safe paths for horses. Safe paths in the dark. Shut up.
30 white horses on a red hill. First they champ, then they stamp, then they stand still.
Amazing motion capture work here. You can see the emotions change in Gollum's eyes.
My question, what have I got in my pocket?
3 guesses, precious. Lost.
Holy crap, he realizes he doesn't have the ring anymore.
No.
Yeah, I think he's putting 2 and 2 together.
Cut off his head!
Guess who it is? Gandalf again, appearing out of nowhere, somehow knowing exactly where they are, and just neutralizing everyone.
It's ours!
Bilbo wears the ring for the first time. I wish Legolas was here. Or Gimli. I love Gimli.
You thought you could escape me. What are you going to do now, wizard? That'll do it.
Oh man. Poor Gollum. With that, we hear the music of the Shire, which just brings peace, not only to the character, but to the entire scene and the audience as well. I just realized Baggins just lived up to his name as the thief, or the burglar.
That makes 13. Where's Bilbo?
Master Baggins saw his chance and he took it. We will not be seeing our Hobbit again.
He is long gone.
He isn't.
I think Gandalf noticed.
Doom!
Out of the frying pan.
Run! Run!
Where have we seen this before?
berries.
Come on, Giant Eagle. Another epic shot. Thorin is like the Aragorn of this film, the rightful heir whose kingdom has been stolen from him. Bilbo, dude, you're braver than I thought. There you are, Giant Eagle. Eagles. I wish I knew more lore about these eagles. And knowing Tolkien, I'm sure there's an explanation for them. Oh man, Azog is still alive. I thought we'd at least get one antagonist death in this one. The imagery here is really beautiful. There's no denying that. Yeah, I don't think he can die without taking revenge.
Nothing. It's alright.
Good for Thorin of thinking of Bilbo. Like, literally the first thought he had.
But you would not survive in the wild, and you had no place amongst us. I have never been so wrong in all my life.
I knew it. He had to have been thankful.
I'm sorry I doubted you.
No, I would have doubted me too.
Erebor, the Lonely Mountain.
And he's awake. That was a good movie, guys. I'm glad I watched it, honestly. Okay, I took some time to collect my thoughts. First off, just as I said, that was a really good film. It was no near being a masterpiece, but it's still a solid film. It kind of reminded me of The Godfather Part 3. What do I mean by that? Was the third Godfather movie a good film? If you ask that question in the context of the trilogy, then no, it wasn't. But as a standalone film, it was pretty good. I think the same applies here. It pales in comparison with the Lord of the Rings trilogy, but as the beginning of a separate trilogy, a separate story, it was a very decent movie with a lot going for it. From what I just saw, I would consider the strengths of the film to be its cinematography, music, sound design, overall story, sets and props, and the tie-ins to the main trilogy. Whereas the weaknesses included the long runtime, too much physical humor instead of written humor, the pacing, and the overuse and over-reliance on CGI, which was generally good, but since it was overused, I don't think it will particularly age well. Let's start with the directing by Peter Jackson and the writing by him, Philippa Boyens, Fran Walsh, and Guillermo del Toro. It's good that the original writing team came back for these ones because, in addition to del Toro, because there was remarkable consistency and continuity between the trilogies, at least the first one here. The story of the first film was surprisingly simple and not very complex at all. I'm not really surprised since the source material was apparently like 300 pages, so the writers had to find creative ways to stretch the story. It did feel rather long with a lot of unnecessary scenes. Don't get me wrong, most of the time they were fairly entertaining, but a lot of the runtime was pretty irrelevant to the main narrative. For example, the opening sequence at the Shire, although awesome, it was a little drawn out. We spent almost, 15 minutes just watching the dwarves eat and sing, all the while we did not get to know them individually. I I feel like the characters weren't very fleshed out. If you ask me the name of the dwarves in this film, I will fail miserably. But I can't say the same about the Rings trilogy, as I remember every single one of the Fellowship members. It was like I was with them on their adventure. In this one, we mostly only get Bilbo Baggins' point of view, and that's about it. And I think that's how the book was written, because it's, what, only 300 pages. Unlike the main trilogy, where there are several storylines happening in parallel, this film had only one. Smaug the Dragon had taken over the Dwarven city in the Lonely Mountain. I already forgot the name of the Dwarven city, it started with an E. Anyways, and he claimed all the gold for himself. The dwarves, with no help from the elves, spent 60 years wandering Middle-earth and looking for their revenge. Their leader, Thorin, finally steps up, and we follow their story from there. Baggins is chosen by Gandalf as their burglar. He lives up to that name by stealing the One Ring. Anyways, to assist them on this great adventure to get back the home of the dwarves. Not much happens along the way. None of the dwarves die or anything. But what did happen in this film was it established Bilbo Baggins as a hero and set up Thorin's revenge against Azog. All the while, Smaug wakes up from his deep hibernation at the end, I assume. One particular sequence that was unrelated to this narrative, but weirdly was my favorite in the entire film, was the scene with Gollum and Bilbo. That was amazing, and seeing how Gollum loses the One Ring was fascinating to watch. Andy Serkis, Andy Serkis is the best motion capture actor, and his performance here was just great. The CGI on Gollum was stellar, and a lot of budget was allocated for that. I could clearly tell. Anyways, I did feel like the whole riddle scene between Gollum and Bilbo it dragged on a little too much, but overall I did enjoy that. Another aspect I noted was how Gandalf, just like the previous film, he just shows up seemingly out of nowhere and rescues the gang on more than one occasion. I don't know whether his character was written like that in the books, but it is becoming a little repetitive by now, to a point where I almost feel no danger for the main cast, because I expect Gandalf to either show up or use magic to get them out of the whatever predicament they're in. The film ends predictably, as this was a clear setup for the rest of the trilogy, with the company one step closer to Smaug and the Lonely Mountain. I just wish at least Azog was defeated in this one, because we only got to see that giant singing goblin die. That too was a little unsatisfactory, because he was not a very intimidating or formidable foe. Anyways, the cinematography of this film was excellent. I had no complaints in this department. The film was objectively gorgeous for the most part, from the Shire to Rivendell to the mountains and the caves. New Zealand is a beautiful place. The film was shot immaculately, and at least the cinematography fit very well with the established world and the story and narrative. The editing in this one could have been better, to be honest. Mostly it was good, but it did not feel like a tightly paced film at all. And I would go as far as to say almost 25-30% of the runtime could have been cut without ruining anything at all. So average work in the editing department. The music in this film was by the great Howard Shore, who, as always, was just fantastic. His music for Lord of the Rings is so iconic that I dream about it sometimes whenever I'm, thinking of Serenity. The Shire music will pop up. The music of the Shire was repeatedly used when Bilbo was speaking, not only to remind us of his homesickness, but as a piece of music for the forces of good. And I think that's what it represented in this film. The original score for this one was also excellent, but definitely not as memorable as the Fellowship or the other ones. It did keep continuity though, so that's commendable. The sound design was great though. keeping in line with the previous ones. The sound of the Shire felt like home. The flashback battle sequences they had excellent clanking noises of the swords. The forest scenes felt alive, and the growling noises made by Smaug in the beginning at the end, they were very intimidating. Now let's talk about the sets and CGI. The sets in this film were just amazing. Peter Jackson is really good at this aspect of production. He does go that extra mile to make you feel like you're part of the world, and he really nailed it here. The costuming work on the dwarves, elves, and orcs, they were top-notch, and I have nothing but praise for that. The CGI, on the other hand, was kind of a mixed bag for me. The dark scenes and the sequences involving Gollum, they were impeccable, like I mentioned before. But the CGI during the well-lit scenes could have been either better, or Jackson could have dialed down their use a little more. The CGI in the Rings trilogy holds up very well today, and I think that's because of how smartly and sparingly it was used. There was a lot of practical work, way more practical work done for the Fellowship of the Ring. I can't say the same about this one though. In most of the landscape shots, which were beautiful by the way, the characters were clearly CGI. You could tell from the shadow and the subscattering work. It really showed. I don't think that aspect of this film will age very well. That was a little disappointing. The bird at the finale that shows up and wakes Smaug, it looked very unconvincing and unnatural. Anyways, it was still okay overall. As the characters weren't that fleshed out and I didn't feel an emotional connection to most of them, I'm just going to be talking about Bilbo and Gandalf. Bilbo Baggins was played by Ian Holm and Martin Freeman. Ian Holm was great in his role in the opening sequence, but what really surprised me was how much I loved Martin Freeman as Bilbo Baggins. I don't believe any other actor could have pulled this off this well. They even looked similar, Ian Holm and Martin Freeman, so awesome. His casting is a large part of why this film was good. His performance, and by extension his character, was very interesting, and he was the only one who I was emotionally invested in, apart from Thorin. Again, not much happened in this film except Bilbo finding his courage and being accepted by the company as they neared the Lonely Mountain. We'll talk about him more in the next one as we learn more. And Ian McKellen played Gandalf the Grey. Again, his performance as the Grey Wizard was stellar, but I don't think the material written for his character was the best. He kept disappearing and popping up whenever the plot felt it was necessary and the company needed help. It worked really well in the original trilogy, but in my opinion, it has been used too many times, as I mentioned before. As for the criticisms, I believe I was fairly critical in my entire review, so overall, The Hobbit and An Unexpected Journey was a mixed bag with mostly good over bad. It was a setup film through and through, and I'm honestly looking forward to the next one. Peter Jackson, his directing was very good, the actual story was very interesting, the cinematography and score were excellent, but it had its issues, like the pacing, the overuse of CGI, or too much humor for such a serious film. Regardless, I would still recommend this film for lovers of Tolkien. On to the next one. Anyways, thank you for watching. I have a Patreon page. Consider being a patron. Subscribe to that channel. Click that bell icon for instant notifications. Like if you liked this video, dislike it if you didn't. I will see you in the next one. Bye.